But I want to go ahead and finish up with the Caleb Williams, some of these details that we got out of just his meeting here. So first of all, pull it up, my notes. I was trying to reach out to as many people I could before we went live here. And I know a lot of it's already kind of been talked about. One interesting comment was, I think, with you and Kyle Long, Vicky, you guys were talking on Twitter. Do you kind of want to go through what you guys talked about as far as like the uniqueness of his top 30 visit in Chicago regarding Caleb Williams?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Kyle had talked about like, hey, Kyle had posted, retweeted the tweet about like Caleb Williams coming first 30 visit, having a dinner. And he basically was like guessing the dinner spots, right? So I was like, oh, okay. Kyle Long probably went through a similar process, right? Because obviously he was picked in the first round. So maybe they already had their eye on him when he came for the 30 visit. He got more of that treatment. Obviously times have changed. I know it's not like to the grand scale that is now, but I'm thinking, oh, yeah, Kyle went through this. So I asked him, like, is this normal for a draft prospect? And he basically was like, no, not really. He said when he did it, there's two things that was crazy. He said he had 17 like dinners or like visits with 17 teams. That's a good amount of teams. And then this one doesn't have anything to do with Caleb, but he said he expected he was going to go in the third round. And if you don't know, we picked Kyle Long first round, pick 20, right? Obviously, he played like a first rounder. His talent was there. But to hear that from his perspective, that he didn't even expect he was going to go first, is kind of crazy. But he made a comment like, Caleb Williams, this is the first NIL baby, like from start to finish, right? Like that he came in with NIL and he left with the NIL, right? The first group to kind of go through that whole thing. That man's got 10 million in his pocket, right? How they treat some of these athletes now, which I'm for, right? I'm totally for this, is completely different than when Kyle Long got drafted, which was like, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. I could be wrong, but like a long time ago, 10 plus years ago. There's more money in the league. How you work and kind of like flash up these athletes, you know what I mean, is much different. So, I don't think it's a flag in any sort of way. I think it's just kind of the way of the NFL. I'm sure the following year, or when there's another big prospect, or not even quarterback, but like someone that's viewed number one overall, there's going to be other teams doing this same thing, especially when they know, hey, this is who we're taking number one. We're letting you know we're taking you number one. They're already going to bring him in as if he's on the team in essence. So I'm here for it. I'm just glad that we're actually in a position where we kind of know who we're taking number one. The prospect kind of knows we're taking him up number one, and we can start to build the chemistry already, which is very important, right? And it seems like they're already doing that, because they talked about he had a dinner, but it wasn't just a dinner one-on-one. It was dinner with some other teammates. They didn't name who, but some other Chicago Bears teammates. And they did that same thing with some of the when they did his dinner at USC with his other USC teammates. So I think it's like another gauging point of trying to see how he interacts with people. And then also in this use case scenario, it's like, hey, look, we want you to get ahead early. Let's start to build the bonds. Let's get this thing rolling. So when it comes to, week one, you're ready to rock and roll. And obviously, like, that's a long time, but I think overall how they're handling it is totally fine. But yeah, honestly, the biggest thing from all that was like, how long you thought you were a third round pick? Like second, maybe I get it. It's the end of the first, but third, that's crazy. So, but yeah, that was some good tidbits to get from someone who went through that similar process.
Yeah. And yeah, first of all, going third round, that is kind of crazy. Yeah. Kyle Long, first of all, shout out to him. Yeah, that'd be crazy. I mean, and then he went first, right? What did he go?
Pick 20. Yeah. We had a first
20?
pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, so Caleb Williams, in regards to his visit. So there was talk about his medicals. Obviously, they were likely completed. Obviously, he's still there today. I don't know if he's going to be here tomorrow, but word is probably got that done probably quickly for the most part. I'm sure. I don't know if it's going to be talked about or confirmed, just because Caleb's pretty private with that stuff. So I don't know. But for me, I would think that there's going to be some type of confirmation, probably from one of the big guns, Shefty, or maybe one of the locals journalists, as far as just confirmation on those, which I have no worries. I don't think the Bears did either, but that was obviously a big talking point. So those completed at least before he leaves Chicago. And then also the Bears had him on the whiteboard once again. So there's talk about what at his pro day, a couple days, they arrived 2 days before. So that Monday they arrived to his pro day, took him out to dinner like you talked about, Vicky, took out his, his teammates, really got to know him, wasn't on his phone at all. And then they took him the very next day, that Tuesday before his pro day, all whiteboard, all about processing, racing stuff, bringing it back on. Well, they did that again. That was confirmed. I think that was from Waldo and Sibley as well, about how, they want to see how he processes information. Like that's important. Obviously, we talk about the quarterback here previously, Justin Fields. And sure, I mean, I believe he could process, but that was one of his weaknesses coming out of college. I don't think that's an issue with Caleb, especially with this time to throw. There's a lot of different factors that kind of go into that. But it was interesting that they again put him on the whiteboard, and I think they probably talked about installs as well. I think there was reports about
continuing it, because I think they talked
basically
about
handing him the playbook early. I know they can't do that.
You can't do that, but I mean, in essence, look, that's the thing about controlling the draft. When you are pick one, you can start to do that. Like if I'm sure Washington has an idea that they probably can't take Caleb, but they're probably in that similar spot as well. It's tough for like, imagine if we were just picking 9. You can't do that. You don't know who's going to be, like, you have an idea. They have their own mock drafts they go through and whatnot, but you can't be just doing that to like 5 or 6 different players. That doesn't work. So I'm not surprised about that at all, and I'm glad that they're doing it legally. They're doing it legally, NFL. So it's funny. No
legally
going on here.
It is. And the Bears, like you said, they have that 9th pick, which is so crucial. We're going to get to that because this is going to be our Q&A episode as well. Honestly, that's all it was going to be. But with all this news happening within the last 2 hours, we're going to start with it. Some more tidbits on the visit with Caleb. So current players were there. Bears front office, of course, was there as well. As far as the players, I haven't been able to confirm any. As far as I know, DJ Moore was not there. I think he's in England with his family on some type of trip. He wasn't. Right. Keenan Allen probably showed up in all Bears gear. Let's be honest. But no leaks as far as what current players were there. But Sylvie, again, ESPN 1000, and then of course said that the current Bears players were in attendance, and of course the Bears front office. So now, as far as where they ate. Kyle talked about a steakhouse. It was in the north suburbs, and it was a steakhouse. That's something I've learned.
Makes sense.
I don't know where. I don't know why we're trying to find that out. Like, what who really fucking cares? We should honestly be like wrong answers only as far as where they eat in Chicago or ate in Chicago. But I thought that was, of course, maybe I think Kyle talked about maybe being a private dinner, or a private room or something like that. You have to. Otherwise, people are just going to be taking photos, or something along those lines. Caleb's a rock star. He's a superstar.
Yeah. You're not going to notice him walking in. Come on now. Yeah, you got to get a private room.
Let's see here. So also Chop Robinson. This is off topic, but as far as other visits, Chop Robinson was in town, I think last week. Malik Neighbors has already made his visit. And of course, now we have Rome Odunze coming tomorrow, Thursday. Will it overlap with Caleb Williams? We don't know. Doubt it. But I think that's, first of all, as far as Rome, I think that's probably the most likely pick if he is there. I don't think the Bears wait. I think if he's there, and the Bears are going to turn their card in pretty quickly, in my opinion. I don't think they want to move back. But what are your thoughts on? I mean, what do you think the Bears are trying to learn from Roma? I just don't see a lot, as far as what's there to prove.
At this point, I'm gonna be honest, like. Mm-hmm. They've had tape forever. So with all of these 30 visits, right, it's not about what this guy can do on the field. They've been following these guys for so long, right? So they're bringing the guys in because they have to try to get a gauge of what they can't get on tape. So the only thing they can learn is like, how's his personality? And they can't even learn that much. Like they only have a guy for a day, like 2 days. Like there's no way you learn like, oh, wow, this person is X, Y, and Z. You can pick up on some stuff, right? I think there's like a psychology. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember watching like a draft special, something that the Bears did last year. And they talked about like, they have a psychologist, a social psychologist who kind of like can like give them ideas of like how their temperament is and whatnot. So I'm sure they probably pick up on some stuff like, oh, we can, it's all about predicting and projection, right? So we predict that this person may act in this way or is this type of leader or X, Y, and Z. So honestly, that's kind of what you're trying to get right now is more of like, how is he going to be as a teammate and how is he going to be as his work ethic, right? As Flus and Poles say, they want someone who loves ball. So it's really like trying to figure out that cliche stuff.